Hey, what's up YouTube? Out here today with another knife review for you. Today I have a Lengren fixed blade. Yes. Let's check this out. Your knife will arrive in a box like this. Lengren. Here is the knife itself. Comes with a cloth. Let's take a look at the sheath first. It's got eyelets there. It comes with a fire steel holder and fire steel. It's Kydex with a leather belt loop. See how that goes? Alright, it's got a retaining strap. It holds it in very securely. There's a nice spot to push off of. And here's the knife itself. Alright, attractive red liners. So this is the icebreaker. It has a 6-inch blade length. Sleipner steel, that is a super tool steel. They did not list the hardness, but from my other Sleipner steel models, estimate it's around 62 HRC. 6.2 millimeters thick. This is a beast. G10 handle scales, Kydex sheath, 13.6 ounces without sheath. Regular price around $117 on US Amazon. Okay, so for comparison, here's my entire Lengren knife collection. Reviewed 3 of these so far, and 2 more are waiting to be reviewed. Well, we have their Dragon, their Kong Tonto, we've got their Rhino, the Jungle Primitive, the Icebreaker, and that is the head of their boar spear, which can also just be used as a dagger in itself. Here's a flyby for you. I think you see what I like about this brand. Yeah, this brand tends to make stuff that is large and in charge. I will definitely continue collecting Lengren knives because, well, just look at them. Alright, my YouTube friends, this is the time in the video where I remind you, you can definitely help out the channel and the knife community by representing with engagement. If you have time, leave a positive comment. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me what you think of the knife. All right? Or just make crazy political rants. I always love those. All right? But yeah, try to help me out with engagement. I really appreciate those who do. If you needed to do some splitting with this, you definitely could because of how thick it is. Now, me personally, I always use a much longer knife or I use a hatchet. It's just easier. But we're reviewing this knife and I wanted you to see that it can take some hard use because of how thick it is, and the grind is like a splitting wedge. So true full tank construction, look how thick that stock is. Attractive red liners. It's got a lanyard slot right there. Can you see that? You can go under and put a lanyard in there. It's got texture on the pommel so you can hammer, or you can cap with your thumb, right? So non-slip. It's got jimping on a thumb rest right there. It's got a huge choil. Choils are controversial, either you love them or hate them. Conventional blade shape, but yet, I mean, that reappears again and again because it's useful. I have an old quartermaster knife that was in Vietnam that has a similar blade shape to this. It's a workhorse. This is a strong design, right? Because that's a partial flat grind, very much superior to a partial hollow that you would see on cheaper knives. I'm just chip carving the end into roughly the shape that we want. Make a little steak. Alright, so we chip carved it until we have, you know, roughly a point, and now we're just going to smooth it out. I hope you're all doing well these days. It was nice and cool when I got out here, but the clouds have gone, so it's heating up. Just smoothing this out. I hope you're all doing awesome these days. Alright, so we carved yet another pointed stick. You could use it as a stake or whatever. So you can carve with this, both with chip carving and with drawing it down in finer work as well. I can chop a notch into this piece of wood. I got it going. And there you go, so we got a little notch going. Alright, so you can make a notch like this, and you can further make it deeper or clean it up as much as you want. But between chopping and pushing cuts, you can do some woodwork with this. Because this is such a thick knife, it can do better at chopping than most knives of the same blade length, just because it has some weight to it, right? You can chop with this knife. Now, you see that. I mean, this is a great little chopper for its size. Now I've been chopping with this, I've been carving, I've batoned with this. Is it still sharp? Well, here's some seatbelt type strap material. It's extremely sharp, right? This usually cut with like a rescue knife, right? Because superior edge retention. This is stretchy bike tire tubing. Now if you ever try to cut this, as you try to cut it, it will stretch, right? Can be difficult to cut. So, how sharp is this? Goes right through, goes right through. Came with this free fire steel. I consider this a backup. I like to use a much larger fire steel that I've had for years and it's still going strong. But as a backup, right, can this create sparks? So you see it can generate sparks with the spine of this knife. And the finish on this, it's a very nice finish because I've already tested this knife out and it's holding up well. So yeah, check that out. Right, so you've got a partial flat grind with strong construction because the bevel is a bit far down, so all of that is thick. This knife is all about the steel, the Sleipner steel. That is a super tool steel that has superior wear resistance, edge retention, toughness, and you can harden that steel to a lot higher degree than a lesser steel, and it will not become prone to chipping like lesser steels would. Right? Steels like that, they address some of the shortcomings of your typical D2, so that's a super tool steel, a super D2, and this knife is just all about that steel, right? I bet you if I looked hard enough, I could probably find like a $20 M-Tech knife with the exact same blade shape, but it would not have that superior steel, right? So if you don't care about steel, if you just want something sharp to cut stuff, then there's no reason to buy this knife, right? This is for people who have kind of gone beyond that beginner level and are starting to think about qualities of steel, like, you know, toughness, how hard you can harden it to safely, stuff like that. So some thoughts on this knife. If all you want is a knife to slice things, you don't need a knife like this. You could just buy an inexpensive Mora knife. They're epic slicers, right? So if all you need is a slicer, don't buy this. But if you want a mid-sized knife that can do harder tasks, like chopping branches, splitting if you had to, right? Maybe even prying in an emergency, right? If you want a tougher knife and you're willing to carry a heavier knife, which I am, then you would consider this, especially considering that super steel. Well, okay, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this quick and dirty review of the Lengren icebreaker. All right, love getting out here and showing you the sights and scenery, getting out here in nature, enjoying stuff. That's what it's all about. That's what the channel is about, just using our gear in a practical way, right? But also connecting as human beings. This has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.